In every origin story, there's a moment when things don't go as planned. For us, it wasn't just one moment, it was dozens. Pivots, failures, and hard-won lessons that shaped 100 Humanitarians long before we had a blueprint. We thought we were going to help, but what unfolded was so much more, a transformation in us and in the communities we served. In this episode, we'll take you into those first 3 years, where hope clashed with reality and where resilience was built one misstep at a time. And if you only hear one part, make it section 5, because when you realize what it's all about, it changes everything. This is the story behind the mission, the messy, beautiful beginning. Starting a nonprofit sounds simple on paper. You fill out the paperwork, pick a name, set up a donation button, boom, impact, right? Not exactly. The first years of 100 Humanitarians was held together by heart, love for people, and sheer determination. We weren't even a standalone nonprofit at first. We operated under another organization's umbrella. It was a space to try, to experiment, and to make mistakes until we could stand on our own. That's what the first years really were. A series of bold guesses wrapped in a lot of good intentions. It was a place to learn not only about those we wanted to serve, but also about ourselves. We were ordinary people trying to build something extraordinary. Business owners, stay-at-home parents, educators, coaches, photographers, all with the belief to do something more. We didn't have grants or a marketing team or even a whole board. We had our education backgrounds, work experience, our families, and a belief that we could make a difference. 100 Humanitarians was as grassroots as you can get, and in many ways, it still is. It's never been easy, but we said yes, stepping into the unknown, and we kept saying yes. At first, we were trying to find our footing. What kind of nonprofit were we? Were we focused on education, sustainability, emergency relief, economic development? The answer, as it turns out, was yes, and also not yet. We knew we didn't want to do things the way everyone else was doing them. We didn't want to drop in with a bunch of stuff, paint walls, take photos, and leave never to be seen again. We wanted to be present, engaged, collaborative, and that takes time and trust. And both of those are earned, not assumed. So we kept showing up, building relationships, listening, learning, and adapting. Those first years were rough, but they were real, and they mattered more than we knew. To hear more about how 100 Humanitarians got started, you'll want to watch the Founders Journey series on our channel, so look for the link in the description. Number 2, early projects and what didn't work. If you want to know how a movement is made, don't look at the press release. Look at the failed ideas. The garden box, for example, was one of our early prototypes. Beautiful, well-made, and completely vulnerable to termites, goats, and it didn't help solve deforestation efforts. We built them from a great idea and love, but not with long-term maintenance and sustainability in mind for Kenya's part of the world or ecosystem. They required precious resource materials and didn't survive the elements or the livestock. That's when one of our directors came to us with an idea for the garden tower. Using recycled materials, saving forest resources, aka wood and trees, as well as using less water, garden towers were easier to care for too. Compact and vertical, meaning more food could grow in smaller spaces with less water. That was our first big breakthrough. Families could plant kale, spinach, tomatoes, onions, and actually harvest food without worrying about termites or not having enough space to grow what their family needed. Then there was the business in a box idea. We gave out cows with the hope that mamas could use the milk or breed them for income. In theory, great, but in reality, it didn't go as planned. Some cows didn't survive, and it was costly to start with cows. Some needed care families couldn't afford or provide. We learned that big isn't always better. It's better to build momentum with something small and sustainable, like a garden tower, before moving into livestock or more complex ventures. We start the business in a box idea with a garden tower now and build up from there. The more we tried, the more we realized. The people we were trying to help already knew what they needed. We just had to ask. So we started doing that, asking, listening, and then adjusting. And slowly, things began to shift. Number 3, learning from communities. One of our most important lessons was also one of the hardest to learn. You cannot assume what someone needs just because you read about it, saw it in a documentary, or heard a statistic, or you happen to have it where you live. You have to ask. And you have to ask without ego, without agenda, without expectation of gratitude. When we asked, mamas would tell us exactly what would change their lives. Sometimes it wasn't what we expected. It might be a clean water source, a goat to sell milk, a financial literacy lesson to better sell their crafts, a menstrual kit, a tin roof, a door to keep their family and livestock safe at night. The way they spoke about these things, with dignity, with wisdom, with simplicity, it humbled us. We started showing up differently, not as helpers, but as allies, as students of their lived experience. We invited conversations, we listened to village elders, and learned more about their culture. We brought in local directors to work with and help guide our decisions. The people of Kenya weren't a project. They were, and still are, our partners. The truth is, the deepest learning came not in classrooms or planning meetings, but in the quiet spaces, sitting with a mom as she told her story, watching a girl's face brighten as she holds her first reusable hygiene kit, seeing a family harvest food from their garden tower and realizing they can take pride in providing for their children. They don't have to go hungry anymore. That's what taught us how to lead, not from the front, but alongside. Number 4, running expeditions and setting boundaries. Expeditions were and still are at the heart of how we connect people to the mission. But in the early years, they were a learning curve all their own. There were times we had way too many people or not enough structure or communication was not clear about what to expect or how to show respect. One time, a group decided to hit the club near the hotel after a long day of service. They showed up the next morning exhausted, and let's just say, it wasn't the vibe we were trying to create. It became clear that not everyone understood the intention of these trips. So we started writing it down, lessons learned. We set new expectations, respectful behavior, quiet at night for rest, a mindset of service and cultural sensitivity. This wasn't a vacation. It wasn't a missions trip. It was something different. It was about walking the line between service and tourism without ever treating people like attractions. We learned that expeditions needed rules, rhythm, and respect, that leaders had to model integrity, that team dynamics could make or break a trip. And when we got it right, it was magic. People bonded in jeeps, danced with the warriors and moms, sat in circles sharing their hearts. They returned home transformed, not because we showed them poverty, but because they witnessed rich possibility. Number 5, the power of people and partnership. If the projects are the bones of 100 Humanitarians, the people are the heart. Over the first 3 years, we learned who we could count on and how to become people others could count on. We worked with and found local guides who did more than just translate. They protected us, educated us, and made things happen behind the scenes. We had drivers who became friends, directors who became co-creators, donors who showed up with hearts, funds, and faith. There were the behind-the-scenes heroes, the ones in the trenches doing the work, figuring things out, the Facebook fundraisers, the "I've got an idea" people who changed the game with one sentence. We will always look to you as mentors and guides. Thank you for giving your all to this work. We also learned that not every partnership is worth keeping, that ego can creep into collaboration, that when someone values credit over impact, it shows. We chose people who value purpose over platform, teamwork over titles, dignity over drama, and those people, they've become our forever family. Number 6, finding peace and perspective on safari. In the middle of all the building, serving, and shifting, there were moments of stillness. We didn't expect safari to be part of the rhythm, but it became essential for many of us. Driving through the open Mara, watching elephants graze, giraffes stretching into the sky, lions napping under acacia trees, it reset something in us. Safari became a place to process, to breathe, to reconnect with the land and with ourselves. It was a reminder that there is more beauty than we can hold, and that what we're working for isn't just survival, it's the restoration of wholeness for all of us. See the description for our video on the top 10 animals you're most likely to see on safari. It was on safari that many of us bonded with the team, or forgave something, or remembered why we said yes in the first place after experiencing something unexpected and emotional. The Mara doesn't rush. It doesn't explain itself. It just is. And in that space, we found peace. Number 7, reflection and the foundation for the future. The first 3 years were anything but easy. They stretched us, tested us, shaped and reshaped us. We faced resistance from within and without. We faced doubt, burnout, fatigue, but we also experienced joy. The joy of learning, the joy of a mama selling her vegetables at market, the joy of a child going to or staying in school, the joy of community gatherings full of laughter and dancing, the joy of something growing, both in the soil and in us. Those early years didn't give us all the answers, but they gave us something better. They gave us roots, a foundation. They gave us a reason to keep going. They gave us the understanding that true change comes slowly, quietly, one decision, one family, one seed at a time. We are 100 Humanitarians International, and these are the stories that built us. By year 3, we were gaining some momentum. Projects were working, leaders were emerging. It finally felt like we had found our rhythm. And then, everything changed. Join us in episode 3, where the mission takes root, just as a shocking turn forces us to rethink everything.